What's up, kids? Hey, ordered this from TGS, as it says there, front and rear backup iron sights. Quick show them to you. I haven't actually unboxed them yet. Got them. They're not very expensive, 20 something bucks, and I figured I couldn't go wrong. On one of my ARs, I have a magnified scope, and one of the problems with that is the standard flip up backup iron sights don't work because the scope's in the way on one of them. So what you need is an offset iron sight, and I have them here. You know, and the reason I got these is because I didn't want to spend like $100 on mag pulls, which look great. You know, I just wanted to be cheaper because I am cheap. So the cool thing about this is it's all iron. This is the front post. They would sit, you could presumably use them left or right-handed, but they'll sit on your pick rail on the top, and then they angle off here at 45 degrees. You can see that on this, the front post, we'll show you these on the gun, you know, the edges flare out just a little bit. This front post looks like it should rotate. You're probably going to need a, use a tool or your bullet or something to do that. Square post right up there. And then, at least right now, I can tell you that it doesn't look like it sits perfectly flat. You know, it's got a little bit of tilt upwards, so kind of under the spring load. So if you're looking for something, if you're really OCD, which I kind of am, and want something that sits right down on your handguard up in the front, this is probably going to drive you a little bit nuts. But like I said, for the price point, I don't think you can beat it. Looks like push button here, boom, spring loaded. That was pretty. And okay, so why I was getting confused with it is to retract it, and once it's up, it seems in lock position. You push that in, push this in. It actually has pretty decent resistance, and then you can slide it back down. Okay, one of the things why I was having a little trouble pushing it is because when you do push this out, there is an opposite end to it that kind of pops out a little bit too. So the interesting thing is when it's on your gun, you're going to kind of want to press it up here as opposed to pressing it right here. Otherwise, you're going to be squeezing, and nothing's going to come up. That may be a little bit of an issue. I would have liked maybe this little recess so you don't have that really, because the front of the iron sight angles down here, so there's not a lot to grab it on. I got it because of that angling down, because I thought it would look a little sleeker and less stuff to get snagged up on, but you do have to kind of squeeze it. Or you can probably grab your pick rail or the handguard or whatever and kind of push it right like that. Man, it snaps with some authority and looks like it's pretty vertical. Now again, for the people that are OCD, it looks like it is just tilting forward ever so slightly. You won't be able to tell back when you're back here when you're looking at it, but it is one of those things. Okay, quick look at the front. You know, on my AR, this is ironically, I'm a little worried because I think this actually might have to mount in front of my scope because I actually have no T-slots available behind my scope, or I'm going to have to push the scope a little bit forward. Same basic design. The front of the iron sight here is a little bit slanted, mounts up here, and you do have a couple of peepholes. So you actually have two, a large, so there's two, and then a small. I've heard about people, you know, the large is too big sometimes for people, and the small is too small, and so some people will drill this out. One thing I can tell you is that if you have the small ready to deploy, this thing isn't going to fold flat. It's going to be, you're going to basically be kind of stuck with the large one because it appears to interfere with your rail would be. Okay, so one, you're gonna have to put it up there. The thing I potentially really like about this large sight is if this is ahead of my scope, that's going to get pretty small. So it may be what I want anyway. Adjustment screw right here to slide it back and forth. Seems to work fine. And it'll probably be right in the middle there. I actually like that there's a pretty good amount of resistance here, so you don't have to worry about it moving too much. I know some people have complained about kind of you know, really loose or, you know, kind of over tapped screws and things like that. So this one seems to not only twist, but it kind of clicks into place. Click. I don't know if you can hear that, but there's some clicks in there, which is kind of cool. You know, I don't know what the solution is if you get a really loose one, but you could presumably maybe put a little thread locker underneath the peephole there or something if you really needed to. I like that these kind of click with authority. I've had some kind of cheaper sights in the past where these have flopped around a little bit. So that is what it is. And then the same kind of deployment button right here, you're going to have that issue where when I deploy it, it pushes out on that side, so keep that in mind. And then how's the vertical, and again, it looks like to me, by my eye at least, that the sight is just like a couple of degrees leaning forward. Again, when you're back here, not a problem. Seems to be locked into place very well. There's just a little bit of wiggle, but it's not bad. And then to retract it, you're gonna have to push on that button and then pull it back down. So, for 22 bucks, I think is what I've ended up paying for it. I'm pretty happy. I'm gonna have backup sights on my gun. I'm not really worried about a combat situation, and I don't do any 2 or 3 gun or anything like that. And if you do, you might not want the deployable backup sights. You might just want the fixed ones, because I think overall, you don't have the spring mechanism, so they can sit a little lower. But one of the things that I did realize is I went out one day with my buddies early, and there was kind of like, it was humid and foggy in that morning, and I noticed that while we were getting a little bit of moisture on the lenses, and it kind of made it annoying, and I didn't have any backup sights. So it is what it is, but now I do. Put them on the gun. We'll see how they look. All right, and dudes, want to show you the offset sights here and discuss a couple of issues you may have. So grab this AR and I put them on, and as you can tell, if you look at my scope here, I have a variable power, the AR-223 scope, on a cantilever quick disconnect mount. That puts it in, as you may or may not know, I'm sure you know, especially when you go magnified, the eye relief becomes very specific and also starts getting kind of towards its target or advertised range of usually like 3 inches. So for me, I like to have my head back in kind of its normal shooting position without it having to kind of lean forward. So my scope is back here a little bit, but what that means is I have no T-rails available behind the mount, which means I have to put the offset sight up in front of the mount, and you can't put it over the dust cover, so it's even a little further than that. So it's actually on the handguard itself, and then I put the other one on the handguard up at the front. Now, this could potentially work because, all you need is a straight line, and the issue though is your sight radius is going to shrink, and then secondly, you're going to have to use basically the larger of the 2 peep sights. Now, one thing I thought, or I didn't think about when I was showing you the initial review, is that because this is not actually mounted flush to the pick rail and is off to the side, you can kind of flip this between either peep sight that you want here, and as you can see, it rotates freely without hitting the side of the rifle. Now, it really depends on the shape of your rifle, but it is what it is. So if I flip these suckers up, let me see if I can show you. And let's take a little peek here. I'm gonna flag, let me fix that. Flag my my painting here a little bit. It's gonna be a little hard to get the camera down in there, but you can see, sorry, holding it with one hand. I can acquire a target. Man, get the camera down there so you can see. And that big hole is okay if, let me move the camera back to where kind of my head would be. It's not bad. I may do that. I may change the mount on the scope so that I have some T-rails behind it. If I switch to the smaller hole on the rear sight, it just becomes way too small. I mean, it actually could work, but for quick acquisition, you're probably SOL. So the only other option you really have, in my opinion, is to change that mount so that you have, like on this one, you have some T-rails behind it. Now, if you have a slick-sided upper receiver, this is probably not going to be a problem. But when you have the forward assist right here, I'm worried about it potentially hitting that. So let's go ahead and swap these. Okay, so I have the offset rear sight mounted on this rifle. You can see that this just uses a non-magnified red dot up top, so I have plenty of T-rails here. I actually couldn't put it on the last one because the button was hitting the forward assist there. It didn't seem like it would cause a problem, but there was a little interference. So if you wanted to quick hit that pop-up button, it becomes a little bit of an issue. So as you can see, this is a billet receiver, so it's not standard the forged aluminum mil-spec one. I think the housing for the forward assist is a little smaller because it's just a smoothed tubular design. So I think it might fit a little better. A couple of issues, I could move it up even a little further here. The button works fine. I can get to it to fold it down here. There is a little bit of a problem getting your release on the charging handles here, but it's almost impossible to get my finger in front of this side. So you'd really be doing kind of left-sided pulling on the charging handle exclusively, unless you have to move this a little forward. Problem is, I've got a little hump there, so I can't move it forward on my rifle any further than it is. So just a couple of the things that might be issues with your offset iron sights that I'm having with mine. I think you have to make some compromises. That's kind of the nature of it. There are a variety of designs in the offset iron sight world, including like these pop-ups or just fixed kind of lower profile sights, which I actually think make a lot more sense if you're willing to forgive the protrusion that happens all the time. But especially if you're going to do competition shooting, I'd probably go with those. In retrospect, I might have preferred to go with those because the extra length that you get here when they're folded down is really kind of causing me some problems, either whether it's here or whether it's trying to avoid the dust cover up here. So a couple of the things to think about. Otherwise, they're really maybe the only option you have when you're putting on backup iron sights, depending on the optic you have. For this one though, honestly, just those standard M-bus, Magpul, polymer flip-up sights, those work just fine. But it's really, especially when you're using magnified optic, it's probably the only option you have. So, Peter von Panda, for these metal offset backup iron sights. Pretty cool. I just got to figure out how I'm going to use them. Out.